Welcome back to Based on a Book, the podcast that proves once and for all that you shouldn't judge a book by its adaptation. I'm Lindsey, your caffeine-deprived host for today's episode.
I'm Crystal, and I never go anywhere without my phone charger and a battery pack.
And I'm Keri, and I always stay weather aware.
That's right, today we've got blizzards, betrayals, and more plot twists than the vending machine has snacks. We're talking No Exit by Taylor Adams and its 2022 Hulu adaptation starring Danny Ramirez, Havana Rose Liu, Dennis Haysbert, aka the Allstate guy, Dale Dickey, David Ristall, and Mila Harris. So, stranded in a blizzard at a remote highway rest stop in the mountains of Colorado, college student Darby Thorne is just trying to make it home to see her dying mother. But when she steps outside for a signal and happens to glance into a van parked nearby, she makes a chilling discovery. A little girl is locked inside a dog crate. With no way to call for help and 4 complete strangers inside the building, Darby is faced with a terrifying reality. One of them is the kidnapper. And there's no telling who she can trust. Over the course of one long freezing night, Darby must figure out who's behind it, how to survive, and how to save the child without becoming the next victim. So, we're going to jump into ratings. And I know, Keri, this is a reread and I think a rewatch for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm going to start with you.
With me?
Mhm.
Oh, my God. I know you guys are just going to roast me for this. I just know it.
Like coffee.
I gave it a 5, okay? I gave it a 5. I gave it 5 Tums because I needed as many Tums as I could get because this gave me heartburn. And literally, this is from when I read it the first time. I read it a year ago. Reread is not as good, I'll admit, because you're not, like, all the twists and turns. It's not like the kind of book that, like, the kind of thriller that you can reread, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's very, like...
Well, once you know, you know.
Yeah, once you know. It's not really, like... It's not as exciting when you reread. So I'm just going to stick with my original rating. Original rating was a 5. I really liked it. It's like a very cat and mouse popcorn thriller to me. I'm so gullible. I like it. Love it. Love to see it. So it's a 5 for me.
Okay. Crystal?
It's a 3. I didn't hate reading it. It's one of those, I'm not going to ever reread this. I'm probably not going to recommend it to anybody. Not because it's bad, but because it's not, I don't know, it's not the type of book I would normally recommend. I'm glad I read it though. I did enjoy reading it. Just, to me, it wasn't like anything amazing that I'm super thrilled to go post everywhere and show everybody. It was a solid read. It was worth reading for sure.
Okay. I really, really wanted to give this a 5. I even wrote it in my review in my reading journal. I was like, man, I really want to give this a 5. And I just couldn't do it. Something about the whole scene with Lars farting in the van.
That was like, I'm done.
Why is this? But no, I gave it 4.5 cups of coffee.
I almost used that rating. I
really liked it. I really liked the story. I thought it was really well written. I thought the plot twists were really good. There was at least one that I did not expect. So, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm glad we did this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely say that a reread is just not it. Like, once you read it...
Not for thrillers, no.
Yeah, once you read it, you know it, and you're good. Well, like, when I read Good Girl's Guide, that's like a thriller mystery, and I would totally reread that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because it was like, the kind of mystery where there were so many
Yeah, well,
clues.
you'd want to see which clues you missed and which clues,
Yeah.
you might find this time, or
Yeah. But this one I was just kind of like, no, that's not a very fun reread. But the audiobook is really good.
Okay.
I'd recommend the audiobook. I use that to reread it. But first time reading it, man, that was an experience. First time reading it, I couldn't tell you if I can't remember if I like predicted anything. Most likely no. Crystal looked at me, she's like, "Girl,
be
you know
honest.
damn
Be
well."
honest.
I couldn't tell you like if I predicted any clues or anything. But it was just like nonstop to me.
Yeah.
I was just
And I,
having like the time of my life.
and I went in totally blind. I knew
Mhm.
enough that I wanted to cover it for our mayhem theme, and that was it. And it was literally there was a woman and there was a rest stop and she was trapped.
Yeah.
That's all I knew.
And I kept telling you guys, I'm like, please do not read anything about it. Please don't read anything about it. Go in completely blind. Because that's what I did. When
Mhm.
I first read it, I went in completely blind, didn't know anything about it. And I feel like that like made it even better. For me, at least. For me.
Mhm. So that yeah, they added the little girl and I was like, where'd this come from?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was there anything else that we wanted to get into before we go into spoilers?
No. Let's spoil the whole thing.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, before we dive into the chaos that is No Exit, here's your official spoiler warning. We'll be talking about everything: twists, turns, betrayals, blood, and probably more blood. If you haven't read the book by Taylor Adams or watched the movie adaptation, now's the time to hit pause, go experience the stress for yourself, and come back when you're ready to be trapped in a snowstorm of spoilers. You have been warned.
Get your Tums.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, before we actually get into today's episode,
Here we go.
we want to give you a quick heads up.
Here it is.
Here
No
it is.
exit. No Exit contains scenes and themes that may be unsettling to some listeners. This includes child abduction, physical violence and torture, blood and gore, graphic injuries, death, threats of sexual violence, substance abuse, mental health struggles, and claustrophobic or panic inducing situations. As always, take care of yourself. If any of these topics are too intense or just not for you right now, feel free to skip this episode and come back when or if you're ready, because this one is pretty intense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in the book, we meet college sophomore Darby Thorne. She's just received news that her mom has been diagnosed with late stage pancreatic cancer, and despite a snowstorm sweeping across Colorado, Darby impulsively drives through the mountains, desperate to get home to Utah. And her relationship with her mom is strained, and she has guilt weighing heavy on her. So she stops at a remote rest stop when the storm becomes too dangerous to navigate. In the movie, Darby's backstory is pretty different.
I was mad about it.
I really yeah, I'll let Lindsay explain it first. Explain it first.
Okay. So in the movie, she is a recovering drug addict, currently in court mandated rehab. Her sister Devin informs her that her mom or their mom is in the hospital with a brain aneurysm. And despite being warned not to visit, Darby breaks out of rehab and drives off in a stolen car. But she is stopped by Corporal Ron Hill, who sends her to a visitor center due to the blizzard.
Mm-hmm. I want to get into a little bit why I don't understand
Why they made her an
why
addict?
why are we making this difference
Yeah,
between the book and the movie?
I really
I
enjoyed the character in the book. I don't
Mhm.
understand.
In the book, this is something that I really loved in the book, was that Darby was a very typical average college student. Like,
Yes.
yes, she had some family issues, like, some tension with her mom and her sister,
Mhm.
but like, so does the vast majority of the population have weird
Mhm.
family issues, right?
Mhm.
And she tried to go away to college because that's what you do when you have weird family issues. You try to go away for college. And now that her mom is in the hospital, she's trying to do the right thing and go back. There was no, I mean, like, there was an indication that she may have done some crappy things as a teenager, which,
Mhm.
again, the vast majority of the population does. Like, she was super identifiable.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
hate that they made her an addict. And I think the only thing I can come up with is that in the movie, they were trying to, like, make her the least of us so that her redemption arc was that much bigger. And I
Mhm.
don't think there needed to be a redemption arc. I think knowing that she was your average person faced with this impossible scenario and then still decided to try and do the right thing was the beauty of the story,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know?
I completely agree with that. Like,
Mhm.
that it was almost like, to me, like, my interpretation of making this difference was like, whenever they read her or saw her character in the book, it was almost like they were like, there's no way this girl would be doing all these, like, heroic acts at this rest stop. This average girl would be doing all these heroic acts at this rest stop. So we need to, like, bring in more depth to this character and, like, make this girl, like, an addict where she's, like, been through, like, the trenches basically of
Mhm.
life, to
Mhm.
where that was the only possible way that this person could do, like, these heroic things.
Right?
That's how I interpreted it too.
Yeah, and I was like, but that feels so weird to
It
me.
really cheapened it in a
Yeah.
way. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know. And it made it less identifiable. Like, the whole idea, I think, of Darby in the book was that she was everyone. You could
Mhm.
easily put yourself in her shoes.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And it's
And
like, what would you do in this situation?
exactly.
What would you do here?
Yep.
And
Because, I mean, seeing witnessing a little girl be kidnapped at a rest stop,
mhm,
what would you do?
mhm.
You know? I mean,
Yep.
I didn't love bringing in this whole backstory of her character, and I thought that was very strange. I think the actress did an excellent job
Yes. Yeah.
as
For
this
sure.
character for this storyline, but if I really enjoyed her in the book much more,
Yeah.
even
Mhm.
though, like, there were aspects of her that weren't necessarily likable, but were relatable.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep. But in both versions, Darby finds herself stranded with four strangers: Lars, Ash, or Ashley, Ed, and Sandy. But the movie adds a layer of tension by letting us know from the start that one of these people is definitely bad news, thanks to like ominous glances and foreshadowing, which is
Mhm.
Mhm.
a lot easier to do visually. And in the book, we get a slower build. The rest stop is cold, claustrophobic, has no cell signal. Darby heads outside trying to find signal, and that's when she sees it: a tiny hand pressed against the window of a van because someone has kidnapped a child. And Darby sneaks back outside, breaks into the van using a shoelace to unlock the door. Just a little leftover skill from her wild high school days. And she finds Jay, a 9-year-old girl locked inside a dog crate. And Darby promises to come back for her. And in the movie, this moment is pretty close, but it is a lot shorter. Darby finds the girl, learns her name is Jay, goes back inside. She tries to figure out who the kidnapper is, and the tension kind of ramps up when Darby decides to tell one of the strangers about the girl.
Okay, in the book, something is said on page 41, and I knew from this moment on exactly where the problem was. Can I
Okay,
read the
yep,
quote?
yes,
Mhm.
Okay.
because I think I know which one it is.
Sandy, the woman in there, is reading a book Ashley comes over her shoulder and says, "What are you reading?" And she says it's a murder mystery. And he says, "How far are you?" or whatever. Has the murder happened? And she said, "Yeah." And he says, "Always the nice guy," Ashley said. "Again, I don't really read, but I've seen a lot of movies, and that's even better. Whoever seems like the nicest character at first will always turn out to be the asshole in the end."
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And now we know.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for telling us.
Yeah.
There's your confession, folks.
I was like, either this is exactly what he's trying to hint at, that he's the bad one, or this is way too obvious and it's not going to be him.
And that's what, so part of me was like, is this too obvious?
Mm-hmm.
Because then the other guy that Darby's looking at is this, very stereotypical, looks creepy, acts kind of dumb, creepy. There might be some, at one point they mention fetal alcohol syndrome. So there might be some developmental delay or, mental disability going on. He's creepy. She calls him rat face. He kind of has that icky look to him. And so part of me was like, okay, well, that's also obvious. Is it too obvious? And that was about the only part of this book that had me questioning, because it was like, is it too obvious? Is it too obvious? No, it's not. It's just the right amount.
It's actually exactly what it is.
Yeah, exactly. This is also where the plot takes a sharp turn. And in both versions, Darby trusts Ash. And in both, things end terribly. So in the book, Ashley pretends to help her set a trap for Lars, who Darby thinks is the kidnapper.
Rat face.
But surprise, Ash is in on it. He's Lars's brother, and they're working together.
So whenever she first comes in, at the rest stop, she talks about how that there are multiple cars in the parking lot, right?
Yes.
Whenever she in the book, she's talking about
she lists the cars and how many people, and
yeah, she's observant of the fact of how many people there are and how many cars are in the parking lot, aligning with the amount of people in there, assuming that they're strangers, or whether who knows who and who's strangers, right? And then she realizes later that one of the cars was actually not a car, and
it was the dumpster,
a dumpster. And
but it's all covered in snow. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that was in the movie.
Yeah.
That would have been an extra little tie-in. If you were just watching the movie and hadn't read the book, that would have been an extra little thing in there that would have helped you not realize who was related to who.
Right.
Yeah, and there was even a quote in the beginning of the book where she says something about not being able to find the dumpster because of the snow. And then it ended up being, it was one of the cars, technically.
Yeah.
Cars.
Yeah.
Yep.
And let's see. In the movie, the betrayal basically comes faster.
Yeah.
Darby is confining an Ash in the bathroom, and he modifies a nail gun to help. But when she goes back out to the van, Jay tells her that there are two kidnappers. And that's when she finds out that both Ash and Lars are the bad guys. And in the book, Ashley threatens to kill everyone in the rest stop if Darby talks. So he slams her face into a table and then later tries to suffocate her with a plastic bag. And she barely escapes and steals his keys. And then she goes back outside to help try to rescue Jay. In the movie, Ash knocks Darby out after confronting her. And then later, Lars returns and helps restrain Darby. And Jay escapes on her own into the woods. And
so before you go further, I want to point something out, because this is where I really started. First of all, the movie goes fast. It goes fast. The book is so slow, and the headings of the chapters are the time, so that it's only been an hour. It's only been 20 minutes. It's only been whatever. and it really builds, and I did like that. In the movie, they're in the mountains. They're in, like, up in the mountains, and it is snowing, okay? And not a single one of these fools is wearing a hat or gloves or a
Nope.
scarf.
Sometimes not even a
Nothing.
jacket when they go outside.
Yeah. So when Jay escapes out of this van, my first thought is she's been in the van. The van has not been on. It doesn't matter how many blankets you are wrapped up in. That's not a good situation to be in, right?
Mm-mm.
And then she goes,
even though Lars is like going out and like randomly turning it on, turning the heat on, still,
right.
even then, no.
Yeah, going out without a hat on and sitting in the van to turn the van on, like, hated that. As someone who grew up in a very cold climate, like, you just don't do that. But then, like, in the book, Jay's been in the back of this van for a long time. She has soaked in urine. So she's wet and cold. And she escapes the van and is, like, running through the woods and they don't know where she is. And my first thought is, she's not, and she's already sick. She's already, like, what's her face knows that Darby knows that Jay is sick, but doesn't really know what's going on. But we know she's sick, she's thrown up, and she's peed on herself, and she's out in the cold without any sort of cold weather gear. And this is when I started going, oh, this is not right. And then even in the movie, they're not wearing any cold weather gear or anything. And nobody talked about frostbite or hypothermia at any point in this story.
They did talk about it once. Jay escapes from the van and she's wandering through the cold on her own. All she's wearing, I think, is a parka.
Yeah.
They do mention that she could freeze to death in, well, minutes, basically. So
I was even freaking out about the fact that the bathroom was like under construction.
Yeah.
Partially open to the outside. Where I was like, I know it's cold even inside that rest stop.
Yeah.
So, and no one has like their jackets on inside either.
Yeah, no. There was just a few things that, like, growing up in a cold climate, and I just was like, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't seem right.
Yeah. Definitely.
So Ash and Lars take Darby with them to look for Jay after she escapes. And the movie compresses the timeline. The suffocation scene from the book is replaced with a hammer fight, and Darby's escape is less drawn out.
Did you ever think that was a line you were ever going to say in your life?
No.
The grocery bag suffocation scene was replaced with a hammer fight.
How cool is that?
Yeah. It's like, I love it.
Just
stop. Hammer fight.
Oh my gosh.
And in the book, Ashley, Lars, and Darby are also searching for Jay. And they believe that she's already dead from exposure. Darby realizes that she's now expendable, and she causes some confusion in the dark by turning off the flashlight and heads back down to the rest stop. And let me tell you, when she throws herself down this hill in the movie.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, before that in the movie, they're like, call out to Jay. And she's like, Jay. I was dying laughing. I was like, why did she say Jay?
Like, I know she doesn't actually want to call her name, but why does she sound like that?
Yeah, like she's like being like annoyed that she has to say it. And she's like trying to like be like, see, I'm saying it, but like not trying that hard. She actually doesn't want Jay to come to her because she's got psychopaths with her. And the way she was saying it was just cracking me up. I'm like, why is she talking like that? Jay.
And Ash is still he's like a master manipulator, and he's
Yeah.
still trying to convince her that, like, if you help us, everything's gonna be fine. But, Darby's like, no, I can't believe anything this guy says. He's
And
gonna
he's
kill me no matter
creepy,
what.
like, he's been obsessed with that
So
makeout session
creepy.
since the beginning. Like, in the very beginning, whenever she thinks that Ash is, like, gonna be on her side and that he doesn't know Lars, like, walks in and then she randomly starts, like, making out with Ash in the bathroom to make it seem like they're not planning something.
Mhm.
He's been thinking about that ever since, and
Mm-hmm.
if I was her, I literally would just die on the spot knowing that that happened
Ash in
whenever.
the book was so creepy.
Oh,
Like, because
weirdo.
he tried to be like that smooth kind of guy, right? And he
Mhm.
kind of had it right until the point she realized, I can't trust this guy. And then it was just creepy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, so creepy. And I don't think they played that off well in the movie. It,
Mm-mm.
they didn't get into his backstory. They didn't get into how he felt like he was untouchable and like something's looking out for him and everything I do works. And you didn't
Magic
have,
Man.
yeah, the magic man. You didn't have any of that. It was,
No, he was just aggressive in the movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
yep.
But Darby makes it back to the rest stop, and this is where she finds Jay. She's inside with Ed and Sandy.
Mhm. Jay made it back
Mm-hmm.
from hiding outside, basically.
Basically. And in the movie, Ash and Lars drag Darby around in the woods. They're trying to find Jay. Darby fakes them out and runs. She sees the footprints in the snow, and she sees that they go to the left, but she darts to the right. She still throws herself down the hill, so that I was glad that was in there.
It's like, I wanna see it.
She just yeets right off the
Yeah.
side of this
Any
hill.
type
And
any type of thing that's, like, somebody, like, rolling down the hill a hill like that,
Mhm.
like, I'm like, "Oh my gosh," like, I just know that hurts. That
Well, they
hurts so
also
bad.
they also had the gun, so I was like, how is she gonna get away from them if they have the gun and they're gonna be shooting at her?
And he's just, like, shooting
Mhm.
anywhere because it's like what she says in the book, she's, like, closing one eye the entire time so
Mhm.
that she can, like, get used to, like, looking in the dark or, like or whatever,
Mhm.
and then she turns off the or she flashes the flashlight, like, in their eyes and then turns it off and then r throws or yeets herself down the hill,
Mhm.
basically.
Yeah. And while she's doing this, Ed and Sandy find Jay unconscious and they bring her inside. And in the book, Jay's survival is a surprise to Darby. In the movie, the audience kind of sees it unfold in real time, so it's not as suspenseful.
Mhm.
But then in the book, Jay slips Darby a note warning her not to trust Ed and Sandy.
Wait, did you guys see that coming, though?
That's the one I didn't see coming.
I did, because they're playing that circle time game or whatever.
Uh huh.
And so, like, before we know that it's officially know that it's Ash,
Mm
and Ed and Sandy like kind of say that, like, oh, they're cousins in the book. They're,
hmm.
I guess, married in the movie.
They are married in
Yeah.
the movie.
But in the book they're cousins, and Ed is a veterinarian in the movie. He's a retired Marine.
Hmm.
And Ed in the book is an alcoholic, drug addicted, former veterinarian who's basically just kind of a jerk, and his family's kind of kicked him out, and he's estranged from his family or whatever. And out of the blue, his cousin Sandy calls him up and says, "Come with me to family Christmas." Out of nowhere, she and that's when I went, "You don't randomly invite someone to family Christmas, like, after you haven't spoken to them for a couple of years. And you definitely don't do that and then head into the mountains during a snowstorm."
Crystal's, like, 18 steps ahead. Me, I'm like, "What?"
So, well, at this point I didn't know if it was Ed lying or if Sandy was a bad, like, I didn't know what,
Mhm.
but I knew that they weren't there by accident.
I knew it was suspicious, but I thought Ed was going to be in on it.
Mhm.
And then I felt really bad.
Was so glad that he really isn't, because because he in the book he is the addict and he knows that he's screwed up his whole life and he wants to do better at this point, that he kind of mentions that like he's going to check himself into rehab after this. This is his redemption arc, being able to go see his family and then do better. And then he gets thrown into this situation, and I like it. I don't know. Like, I have a soft spot in my heart for addicts anyways, because I know that's not a choice. Nobody chooses to do that. And so he was trying to be a better person, and that kind of, I'm so glad that he wasn't the bad guy. You know what I mean? Because I needed him to be a good person. I needed the addict to be the good person. I needed
Mhm.
that. Which is why this book isn't a 2.5.
I wonder why they changed his backstory. Well, maybe they changed the backstory because they wanted Darby to
I think
have.
I think they needed to have a more, I think they purposely made him a combat veteran because they wanted for there to be someone in there with like a combat experience, so like to be the voice of reason, of making the plan, when they needed to make a plan. That's my only theory, is that they just needed someone in there with a little bit more experience.
Yeah. I just feel like that even made it, I don't wanna say less realistic, but
All I know is
I
their
don't know, like.
casting for Ed was perfect because I felt like I was in good hands.
Yeah, true.
Pretty
That's all
sure
I
I
could
made
think
that
of
joke
through the
while I
whole
was
thing.
watching it.
Yeah. True.
Well, it turns out Sandy is Jay's school bus driver, and she is in on the kidnapping. And she pepper sprays Darby and then lets Lars and Ashley back in. And Ed ends up getting shot with a nail gun. Like,
My worst nightmare, ever since I've seen Final Destination, I hate a nail gun. Any type of nail gun in a scary movie, ever since I saw Final Destination, I don't know what number it is. Hate it. Hate a nail gun. Hate a death by nail gun.
mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that one was rough.
Even seeing a nail gun in person, I'm kind of just like, ooh, get a little scared.
They're scary.
Careful with that thing.
Mm-hmm. They are scary. In the movie, Jay identifies Sandy as her housekeeper. And we get a flashback
Oh my god.
revealing that Sandy helped kidnap Jay for ransom.
Can we talk about this?
Please.
Can we please freaking talk about this in this movie? Why in the hell? First of all, they made Jay like seem like this bratty little kid in the
Mm-hmm.
movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where she has a housemaid
Mm-hmm.
making like funny little TikTok videos of her,
Yep.
making fun of her, almost like making it seem like almost like
Victim
I don't
blaming. Like she
victim
deserved
blaming,
this.
like she deserved to be kidnapped.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, so what was the purpose of that?
Also, how was Sandy a nurse and also their housekeeper? Because she was a nurse in the movie too.
Yeah,
She had said
ex-nurse.
ex-nurse. So she was an ex-nurse and she gave up nursing to be a housekeeper? I
I
don't
don't know.
I
I don't
mean,
know. I
I
was so distracted by the TikToking and
yeah.
making this little girl who was just kidnapped, like, kind of insufferable to the point of, like, this is why she was kidnapped, and this is why,
Yeah.
Sandy kind of was pushed to, I mean, she was pushed to the decision not her reasoning was because, like, they needed money, and they were gonna give her money for this, but
Also
pushed to the
blamed
decision.
Ed.
Yeah,
Ed
blamed
gambled
Ed.
away their life
Yeah.
savings, and so they needed the money. Like,
Yeah, but
didn't
the
like that they were
TikTok
blaming
pushed
Ed.
her. The TikTok pushed her over the edge. It was like,
Like,
"What?"
yeah.
I
But
hated that.
in the
Mm-mm.
book, Jay was, like, very sweet, like, she was talking about, like, her dinosaurs and, like, and, yeah, Sandy was her bus driver, which, like, I
She
feel
rode a
like
bus.
which was even more, I don't wanna say relatable, but kind
She was supposed to be some rich kid.
Yeah, it's kind of realistic and kind of scarier because, like, a bus driver,
Mm-hmm.
snatching up your kid, like, that's scary.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was just, like, weird. I was like, "Why'd they do that?"
I hated that change.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sandy helps Jay get kidnapped. She's the one that opened the door and let Lars and Ash in. Well, I guess she left it unlocked in the movie, and they just kind of break in.
Yeah, and there's a scene where she's, like, standing there and just, like, listening to, like, her screaming and,
Yeah.
like, them taking her, and she's just, like, standing there, like, just staring off in, like, the distance, like, waiting for it to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Damn, girl. Like, this is crazy."
She tells the cops that she couldn't hear it because she had headphones on and she was vacuuming.
But she was just listening to the whole thing.
Yep. But Ash ends up killing Ed and Sandy when Darby won't cooperate. And their deaths in the book are so brutal.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them.
They're drawn out. They are tortured. It's pretty rough.
Yeah.
In the movie, they're just like, boom, boom, done.
Yeah.
Literally, yeah.
They're like, we got to wrap this up.
Yep. And in the book, Darby's hand is crushed in a door hinge.
I don't like a door hinge either. A door hinge, fingers in the door hinge, like that part freaks me out.
Yeah, that was rough.
I've had my hands shut indoors so many times when I was a kid because
me too.
We were wild. And I had, for my kids, we have hard, fast rules. Doors are not toys. They will never be slammed. If it's open, you will close it gently. If it's closed, you will open it slowly. Like, my daughter could tell you that word for word to this day. My son knows it too. I am terrified of getting a hand shut in a door. So this part, like, not cool.
I can't tell you how many doors I've just like busted through and hit people with doors.
Oh my God.
Like that fish from SpongeBob just walks the Krusty Krab, throws the doors open. That's me.
She's like that Big Bird meme. It's like kick down the door,
No,
just standing there.
Literally, that's me. Yeah.
No, doors are not toys.
No, they're not. They're scary.
So yeah, Darby has her hand crushed in the door hinge when she refuses to give up the location of the truck keys or the van keys. She gives in when she realizes that she accidentally texted the police the wrong address. And that's the point in the book when Ed is murdered. In the movie, Ash nails Darby's wrist to a wall.
That was rough.
Yeah. That's when her phone...
Her wrist, not her hand, which I was expecting.
Yeah.
Her, like, in her wrist, like right between the bones, the ulna and the whatever that other one is.
Yeah. I was grabbing it as I was saying that.
I can't.
Like, my wrist was like pulsing.
Yep.
As I was watching.
Yeah. But as she's nailed to the wall, her phone buzzes and she finds out that her mom has passed. But it also confirms that her SOS text has gone through, even though Ash attempted to delete it. So Ash learns that the police are en route. He demands the van keys. I think this is actually where he shoots Ed and Sandy. And in the book, Darby escapes after she pulls her hand free from the door hinge. She loses her pinky.
Jay's like, it's going to grow back, right? She's like, yeah, sure. It's going to be fine.
That poor girl.
Like, literally, I'm sorry, a little kid asking me a million questions while I'm fighting for my life to not pass away would
Literally.
actually send me to orbit.
She had way more patience than I would have.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah, no.
I'd be like, "I'm gonna need you to shut the fuck up right now. I'm gonna need
Pretty
you to shut
much.
the fuck up."
Pretty much.
Well, she's
Because
also trying to keep her calm so she doesn't go into some shock
Right.
or
Yeah.
Because of her condition, her
Addison's.
adrenal
Addison's, yeah.
yeah.
But Darby manages to turn the lights off. It's dark. She kills Lars. Jay and Darby attempt to flee, and Ashley returns, where he then sets the rest stop on fire.
Lars' death in the movie, man. Oh, that death was crazy.
Yeah,
That death was crazy.
yeah, yeah.
The
I knew
nail
it was gonna happen too. I knew it was gonna happen. The
Yeah.
slip. Yeah.
I'm not gonna go into detail about it
No.
because
He gets shot with a nail gun.
this is gonna be on YouTube. Who knows what'll happen, but
It's a nail gun death. We're just
yeah, we'll stay there, but
gonna
damn. That was crazy. That actually, I did not like that at all.
Also, Lars in the movie is much more childlike.
Mm-hmm.
He is much more innocent. Like, he doesn't want to be doing this.
You can tell. Yeah.
He doesn't want to be doing this. You know, his brother's making him. He's been lied to. He thinks that they're like taking these kids to find them better homes.
Mm-hmm.
In the book, Lars knows exactly what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
He might be slow, but he's not stupid, and he knows exactly what's up. And he also knows that his brother is a jerk and is the alpha in the situation, is the one that he's going to look to make the decisions, and he will be obeyed without question. Like, that's it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He's a lot more creepy in the book. In the movie, I felt sorry for him.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I
thought
totally
I thought the actor they picked did a really good job too.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I was watching some interviews with the actor that played Lars, and it was so interesting, like, seeing him talk about his character and, like, a completely, like, his own self. And I was
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, like, I just watched him being, like, such, like, a strange person in this movie, and now he's just like, yeah, this was, like, kind of like a character study and blah, 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 and I was like, oh my god.
I don't know if I can
So
handle
weird.
that.
Yeah, he was totally different.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, in the book, Darby fights Ashley outside, and that's when the cop arrives, and he misreads the situation, and he shoots Darby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then Ashley kills the cop, and
Mm-hmm. Turns him into a human porcupine with the nail gun.
in the movie, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But in the book, at this point, so the cop arrives, the snowplow is coming. The cop shoots Darby, Ashley kills the cop, and then Ashley goes to kill the snowplow driver, and then Jay kills him.
Yes.
And that whole scene in the book, Magic Man thinking
Mhm.
he's getting away, Jay missed. That was really well written. I liked
Yes,
that.
it was.
I literally have chills right now. I love that scene.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It's so messed up. I love that scene so bad. I forgot, like, I knew the sequence of events,
Mhm.
but I forgot how it was written, and I was
It's
listening to
so
it, and I was
well
like,
written.
Mhm.
oh my god, that was sick. That was so freaking sick.
Mhm.
Like, you're at it for a second, you're just like, wait, what is going on? And you're like, oh my god, that was amazing.
You really believe that she missed and
Yeah.
that Ashley's just gonna get away.
Yeah.
I remember reading it, I was like,
Mhm.
dang, that sucks. What's gonna happen now?
Mhm.
Mhm.
I really like the whole ending, like, the whole sequence of events at the end, I thought were so good because it was like, "All right, we're wrapping up," and I was like, oh, we're not wrapping up yet.
Yeah, because like at one point in the book, like Darby and Jay have the keys and they get out to her Honda, her blue Honda, and they're gonna try and get away, and they barely even make it 500 yards because Ashley shot the tires with the nail gun, so
Mhm.
they're flat and they spin off and get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
So like, and then of course Ash comes to the car and is like, "Come back," So like, there's so many moments of that, them almost getting away, them almost getting out, and it
Mhm.
just after a while you start thinking, "Oh my gosh, maybe Ashley is the magic man. Maybe
Mhm.
Right.
he is gonna get away with it."
Yeah.
And it was really kind of had me at the end there that like, shit, is he gonna get away with it?
Yeah. And then the fact that Darby got shot,
Mhm.
not even
Mhm.
by any of the characters at this rest stop.
No, yeah, that had me
That I
mad.
thought it was so crazy and just like, ugh.
Mhm.
It was just like really good storytelling at the end, in my
Mhm.
Mhm.
opinion. I just really loved it.
This is a well-written
Yeah.
thriller.
Mhm.
Like, I was in fact thrilled.
I was thrilled by the thriller.
I was. It was super suspenseful. It was definitely not bad. I'm glad I read it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The movie, though,
Right.
I did not like
No.
how the events took place at the end of the
Mhm.
movie.
Basically, to compare the ending to the movie's ending, Darby ends up relapsing in order to dull the pain so that she can escape by pulling the nail out of the wall. And at this point, this is when Ash accidentally causes Lars to die. And Darby and Jay attempt to escape. They crash the Honda. They don't even get very far. They crash into a light pole. And the cop arrives and is tricked by Ash, and he still ends up shooting Darby. And then Ash makes him a pincushion.
Mhm.
But then Darby, she ends up killing Ash, whereas Jay did it in the book. So I think the book really had more of an emotional and gritty feel,
Absolutely.
Mhm.
especially with when she's confronting Ashley and she ends up writing down the uncle's address on her arm,
Yep.
basically as she's dying.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I really liked that detail.
Yeah, like that she even has like this moment in the book whenever she finds out that her mom has died where she's like kind of like giving up.
Mm-hmm.
She's kind of like giving up on everything. She's like, "All right, I'm done. I'm freaking done. Over it. This is just it for me." And then she kind of has like this last like fighting moment to be trying to get everyone out. She's like, "I'm going to save Jay. I'm going to get her out of here and all this stuff." And the fact that like she's still pushing even
Mhm.
though she's, like, coming to terms with, like, "I'm probably gonna die, let me, like, get as much information as I can,"
Mm-hmm.
and the way that that was written, it was, like, kind of emotional, like, it was, like had, like,
Yep.
a really big impact, and I really like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
she keeps having these flashbacks to being a kid, and she mentions the witching hour pretty
Mhm.
Mhm.
often. And there's the story where she had a nightmare. It was the witching hour, and she ran into her mother's bedroom, and her mother comforted her and said it was okay. It was just a dream. Everything was going to be okay. So she continues to think about her mother and how she protected her.
Mhm.
And they have the inhale, take a breath, hold your breath for 5 seconds, exhale. And she really uses that throughout the story to help her and the other characters. And then
Mhm.
there's that moment where she's bleeding out and she goes back to that moment with her mother. And she
Mhm.
says that she's proud of her. And I
And that
thought
it's
that
all
was,
gonna be okay, and it just
yeah,
yeah, it was really touching. It was a really beautiful kind of full circle moment.
exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
So in the book, they kind of make it seem like Darby dies by being really subtle because you go to Jay's point of view. She's back with her parents, and they're going to the graveyard in Darby's hometown. And you're thinking, oh no, Darby, she died. But it turns out she survived, and they're actually there to visit her mother's grave.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with the end of the book, you get closure for everyone.
Yes.
You get closure for Darby, for Jay. You even get the scene with the uncle who is in the middle of writing an email when he gets raided by the police. It's literally closure all around. In the movie, Darby is back in rehab. She has been clean for 48 days, and she gets a visit from her sister. So there's no follow up on Jay or the uncle. It's literally just closure for Darby.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with the book, you get more of an emotional resolution.
Yeah.
Whereas Darby gets her recovery arc, and then things are tied up for her character, and that's it.
Yep. Yeah.
So I think with that being said, what are our final verdicts for this?
No, for sure the book is better.
Yeah.
I really didn't
Definitely the
like
book.
the movie, honestly. There were a couple of moments in the movie that were all right, I guess, but I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like
I didn't connect to a
the
single
movie.
character in the movie.
Yeah, I didn't really. I liked the actress who played Darby. I think
Mhm.
Darby was done really well
Mhm.
for how they changed her character,
Exactly.
Yeah.
how they wrote the character for the movie.
Mhm. Agreed.
I don't necessarily think she's the same Darby as the book,
No.
but
Mm-mm.
for what they wrote for the movie, I think she did very well.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it was well written. I don't
Yeah, I don't think it was very exciting.
No. It didn't have quite the suspense and the thriller aspect of a thriller that the book
Mhm.
did.
They took out the thriller and they replaced it with action. So it was more action-y than
Yeah.
thrilling.
I totally agree with that, for
Yeah.
sure.
So I
This had
agree
a
with
lot of
book.
potential, though.
Mhm.
I was really hoping for more of that Hannibal Lecter Silence of the Lambs style slow building, because it
Mhm.
could have been that. And I was I was really looking forward to watching the movie. I thought I was going to tell you how much I loved the movie compared to the book, but
Mhm.
it just fell flat. It's like you
I
said, they
really
put in
wish
the action and they took out the suspense, really.
Mhm.
Yeah. I really wish they kept that scene of the cop showing up at the wrong location, like
Mhm.
they had
Yes.
in the book, because that like, the moment, like, I could see it in my head,
Mhm.
the cop, like, opening the door to the rest stop, and, like,
Mhm.
us being, like, just seeing the cop, it just the cop's face, thinking,
Mhm.
"Okay, the cop is finally here, like, we're gonna be rescued," and then it pans over to the rest stop, and it's, like, empty.
Just
And
Yep.
then
like the scene from Silence of the Lambs.
Yep.
Yes, yes, yes. And then it clicks in in our head that they're at the wrong location and they're at the other one.
Mhm.
That would have looked so good.
Mhm.
Missed opportunities.
Yep, missed opportunity. They're like, "We don't got enough money for this."
Right. Just get it over
2
with. Let's go.
locations. What?
Yeah, 2
No.
locations, extra storyline. No, we can't do that.
That's why Darby never even made it out of the parking lot.
Exactly.
No, yeah. They literally, when they got in that car, crashed immediately. It
Immediately.
crashed so badly. I was like, "Come on."
Mhm. Yeah.
Like, and so bad to the point of, like, they almost got, like, ejected from the vehicle. I was like, "You went, like, 2 feet."
Knocked Jay unconscious. Like,
Yeah.
messed them up.
Yeah, like, they were literally out cold, and I was like,
Mhm.
"I don't even think you went that far." Like,
The
that's
5
crazy.
for the 5 miles per hour they were going.
Yeah, like, that was crazy.
Totaled that poor Civic.
I
Mhm.
know. The
All
whole
blue.
front was, like, smashed in.
It
Mhm.
wasn't
I
a
was like,
Civic in the movie, though. It was I don't know what it was, but it definitely wasn't a Civic.
well, it wasn't going from 0 to 50 in
No.
2 seconds.
No. She started it with a screwdriver. That ought to tell you this was not the world's greatest car.
Yeah.
It's true. But that's gonna bring us to our question of the episode. You're snowed in. What game are you playing to pass the time?
Sorry.
Crickets.
Let's start with
Wait, is nobody like a big game player? Like board games or card games or anything?
I
Oh,
love
I'm
all of them.
yeah, I have a massive collection. So
Okay, I thought there was silence because like nobody likes to play games.
no, it's because y'all told me I could only say one.
Oh no, you can say multiple if you want.
Say them
What's
all.
I would say it's Lindsay's episode. She gets to decide
Oh,
the
okay.
rules to the
Sorry.
question.
Only one.
No, it's fine. Say them all. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I carry a deck of cards with me anyways because I feel like wherever I am, cards work. There's a bajillion different games for kids, for grown-ups, for whatever. I can find something to play with somebody with a deck of cards.
Mhm.
Having said that, I really do carry like 4 or 5 smaller versions of other games, specifically card games, because again, they're easy to carry around. So like Skippo and Rook and stuff like that, like Uno. Those are my go-tos.
Yeah.
I'll throw down some
I
Uno.
yeah.
Mhm.
I love card games like that. I'm not a huge board game player just because like I never find people that actually like play board games. My dad's probably going to listen to this and be like, "Excuse me, I always want to play a board game and you never want to play." But I mean like I like playing board games when we have like a lot of people wanting to play,
Mhm.
Yeah.
not just like 2 people playing.
2
You know what I
people playing
mean?
a board game just doesn't cut it.
Yeah.
You
And
need at least
even
4,
then,
at
yeah.
least.
And like board game, like couple of drinks, like
Mhm.
that's fun. You know, but I always love card games. Card games are like my favorite thing. And I always love to play Rummy. That's like my favorite card game.
There you
I'm
go.
always playing that. So that's the one I would always play.
I like card games. I like Cards Against Humanity.
There you go.
Typical.
I like Apples to
I ain't
Apples,
surprised.
which is the slightly cleaner version of Cards Against
Mhm.
Humanity,
Cleaner. I'm just
but
kidding.
I like making it dirty. That's the most fun part of Apples to Apples.
That's just
Is,
Cards Against Humanity.
well, yeah, but with a challenge.
Yeah. I used to play so much Cards Against Humanity,
Mhm.
but then like once you play it so much, like all the stuff.
Right.
And then you're like, all right.
How about
And
word
then
games? Do you guys do like Scrabble or Boggle or Bananagrams or anything like that?
I do play Scrabble a little bit, but a bitch can't spell,
I was gonna
man.
say, girl, I can't spell.
A bitch cannot spell.
I
For shit.
love Scrabble and Bananagrams. Like my stepmom and I have this like ongoing Bananagrams like it's a very friendly competition. It really is. But whenever I go visit, I'll wake up early in the morning, we drink our coffee, and just me and her play Bananagrams before everybody else wakes up. And we are like so evenly matched that whoever wins like wins by 1 tile. Like it's always so close.
Mhm.
But no, word games are my jam, but nobody ever wants to play with me. So
Hmm. I start playing a word game and then I forget all words.
Yeah. I'm like, A and D.
I'm like, duh.
Duh.
Oh Lord.
Well, all right. I'm going to say that's going to bring us to the end of our snowed in with no exit. Whether you were biting your nails through every twist, side eyeing every character, or just wondering how Darby managed to survive that many injuries. Thanks for riding it out with us. Don't forget, we want to hear from you. Head over to our socials and let us know, what game are you playing if you're snowed in? And bonus points if it reveals something about your survival strategy. So be sure to follow, like, and subscribe on all of our social media and podcast platforms so you don't miss next week's last dose of mayhem. And until then, keep your Swiss Army knife close, take a deep breath, hold it for 5 seconds, and exhale. And we'll catch you in the next chapter of Based on a Book. Bye.
Hi.
Bye.